Everyone and welcome to CraftyGirlzSA. It's the beginning of the Christmas craft season and I'm so excited to get started. So to begin with, I'll be making this Christmas tray. It's filled with festive glitter, pretty washi tape sticker, and I'll finish it off with a gorgeous glass-like shine. It is the perfect piece to kick off the holiday crafting season, so let's get started. So I am just measuring out my epoxy resin. This epoxy resin I got from a local craft store and it was very, very expensive. That is my puppy again playing with his turkey. So please excuse the noises in the background. Like I was saying, this was from a craft store and it was very expensive. So I have found a local supplier, which I'm really excited about. Obviously, their prices are a lot cheaper than what I paid for this epoxy resin, but there was nothing wrong with this epoxy resin. It works beautifully, but it's just not feasible paying that amount to make any items with it because it would just work out so expensive. But like I said, there's nothing wrong with it, so I was using up what I had left over. And like I said in the actual intro, I am making my first official Christmas craft item, and it is a tray. I thought I would keep the color scheme neutral, not get too carried away, which is what I normally do. So we're going with your, like I said, subtle colors with golds and your more beiges and your neutral colors. So here I am just about to start mixing it up, ready to pour. I did forget to put my gloves on because I was in such a excited mood to start off my Christmas crafting season. So I did forget my gloves and my mask, but unfortunately that is what I did, and you must just excuse me. I will try and remember the next time to put on all my gear. Here I am adding my flakes. They are almost like a mother of pearl flakes. Then I put a dash of red. I mean, I had to put a little bit of color in. I couldn't just be too normal. And then some gold. I just wanted it to have a subtle-ish finish. So I didn't want it to be too glittery, and I didn't mind if the glitter floated to the bottom because this was only going in the actual lip of the tray. I didn't want it all over the top of the tray because I was going to obviously put my washi tape sticker on, and that goes all the way across the tray. So here I am just putting it into the lip of the tray so that I've actually wanted the glitter to fall to the bottom. So when you actually have the tray facing the right way, there was a lot of glitter in the actual lip of the tray. So here I'm just carefully pouring it all the way around so that it only goes into the actual lip. Make sure that it's all in the lip and hopefully no bubbles. I don't have a machine that takes bubbles out yet. That is on my Christmas list. I have already told my husband that is on my Christmas list. That is what I want for Christmas, because I think that's one of the things that I have wanted for a while, and so yes, hopefully Santa does give that to me at Christmas time. So here I am now just adding on the top layer. I did this in two separate stages because I wanted to make sure that I could put the back layer, which I am going to use a subtle mica powder. So here I am just using both my hands at the same time and putting a little bit of glitter at the top, because obviously my UV DTF sticker is going to go at the bottom. So I wanted a little bit of glittery effect at the top, but not too much at the bottom. So that is why I am just sprinkling a little bit of the leftover from the edges onto the top, so that we can get a little hint of glitter at the top, just to make it a little bit like we have a little bit of stars in the sky, if you want to make it that analogy. Is that the right word? Now, my age, I forget words very quickly and very easily, and sometimes they don't even come to me. Sometimes I have no idea of the word and I will just basically stop talking because my brain does not work like it used to. So here again, I am just scraping out the little container. These containers are actually little coffee cups. Your little, I think they're espresso coffee cups that I got also from one of our, it's actually not a craft store at all. It's just a little supply store, and they come in a pack of 50 and they are ideal to use for resin. If you clean them out, you can actually reuse them, which is really nice. But sometimes if you have glitter, it's a bit difficult to do that. So if you are just putting in plain white, not white, clear, they can be reused. Here I'm just using my heat gun just to get out any bubbles that are there. Like I said, I don't have a bubble remover, and so I have to rely on my heat gun and my long neck lighter to get rid of any bubbles. This resin, I must say, maybe that's why it's so expensive, is actually really good. It doesn't actually produce that many bubbles. So if you leave it for a minute or two before you pour it, it does seem to get rid of bubbles on its own quite nicely. So excuse my arm there, I was just putting my my heat gun away. So yeah, so like I said, it does actually get rid of the bubbles quite nicely, and there I'm just using my long neck lighter just to get rid of any others that were there. So now it is ready to cure and ready to put the next coat on. So I left it overnight to cure until it was nice and solid, and now I am going to put on the back coat. I used a white mica powder. I wanted it to be nice and pretty, if you want to call it pretty, so that your washi tape sticker would show up a bit, because like I said, they are quite subtle colors, and so I didn't want to take away from the actual sticker. So I thought a white background would be nice, but not just plain white. The mica powder gives it a nice pretty shimmer to the back. So here I am just mixing it up, and I am going to pour it over the back of the actual tray. I was happy with how the actual tray had cured. Not much of the gold had floated from the edges, so I was really happy about that. And also the amount that I had that I was going to use for the top of the tray was the perfect amount. It didn't float to the middle, it was just at the top, and it really, really did look like a little glittery night sky. So here, like I said, I am just putting on the white mica background, and I will leave this now again overnight to cure, and then we will be ready to do the front of the tray. And then this is probably one of the most exciting parts of unmolding, is to see how it's actually come out. That mica looked really pretty, and I was quite excited to see how the front of it was actually going to look. So here we go. Already we can see the glitter, and look at that. Oh, that came out so nicely. Like I said, the top looks like a starry night, and there was a little bit of glitter that did float up from the edges, but like I said, not very much, and there was plenty of clear space to put on the washi tape sticker. Right, so as you can see, I remembered my gloves. And just having a look at how pretty that mica base looked and the glitter on the edges of the tray. I was really happy with how it turned out. So now it was time to put on my washi tape, and I had a couple of choices, but I thought this one would actually work out really nicely. I had a couple of choices of washi tape to use, but I thought this one would be perfect for the color scheme. It even had the little stars at the top, which would go with my little glitter stars that I had put into the UV resin. So here I was just measuring out the size of the tray, and I have a template that I printed out on my 3D printer, which is the exact size of the inside of the tray. So here I was attempting to cut out, because I wanted the actual angle of the edge of the tray. So I thought, well, this will work quite nicely. Well, it did in the end, but it did give me a bit of a hard time because the template was slipping around and the washi tape was moving around. So I managed to cut the outside of the one and then decided to cut the inside of the other. So it was moving around quite a bit. So eventually I did get there in the end. I gave it a cut and it did cut the edge nicely, but this right hand section I just had to snip with my little rounded edged snippers because it was slightly big, and I just wanted to make sure that it fitted as close as possible to the actual angle of the tray so that it almost touched the edges when I was going to put it in. So there, I think it's already looking really pretty. Give it another little bit of a snip, and there we go. Look how perfect that's going to look. I do love these washi tapes, like I said. I like using the UV DTF stickers as well. I do think they stick beautifully and they are so nice and shiny. But the washi tape is nice if you wanting a long version of a sticker, because most of the UV DTF stickers don't come in long rolls like that. I haven't seen any available, but maybe you can get them. I just haven't seen any. So when I'm doing the trays like this, I like to use the washi tape. You're putting on a top coat anyway, so to be quite honest, it doesn't make much difference which you use. Now this was another roll that I had, and I was having second thoughts. I did think the first one was lovely, and then I thought, let me have a look and see what it would look like with the dinner plate or dinner plate, the dinner table design would look like. But in the end I thought, no, my stars go perfectly with my sky, and the other one just had a little bit too much red. Like I said, I wanted to stay with more of the subtle colors. So I thought, no, let me stick with my first choice. Maybe that is what I should always do, stick with my first choice. So that is what I did. So now here I am just going to peel off the transfer tape off the back of it. Sometimes it gives you a bit of a hard time, so you have to have a little bit of patience. So there I'm just taking off the backing tape, and need to just make sure that I get it in the right place, because again, even the washi tape stickers, they do stick really well. They're not as tough as the UV DTF stickers, but you do have to make sure that you get it in the right place, because otherwise trying to take it off is not fun. So the last step was just to give it its final little top coat, and it was just going to be as thin as possible. I didn't want it too thick. All I wanted was to just give it its nice glossy, shiny finish. So I just mixed up a little bit. Luckily it was enough, and just had to then make sure that again there was no bubbles. So that's why I have my heat gun laying there, because I will use that to just give it a good blowing of hot air so that it gets rid of, hopefully, all the bubbles. And again, if you want to, you can, it's entirely up to you, use a lighter just to make double sure that you have no bubbles in your top coat, because that you will probably see. If it was underneath with the glitter and that sort of thing, you probably wouldn't notice too much, but your top coat is probably the most important out of all of them to get nice and smooth and bubble free. So here I am just scraping out my container just to make sure that I use every last little bit, because I wanted to make sure that I didn't have any indentations or anything in the top coat as well, because that's all you don't need is a nice shiny top coat, and then you have a little dent in it because you could have put another half a teaspoon of your epoxy resin in. So there again here, like I said, just giving it a blow with my heat gun, and that also helps it to level, even though your epoxy resin is normally self-leveling. But if you heat it up a bit with your heat gun, it does help to level it even better. And I think I was looking for my long neck lighter, which I put things down, I can never find them. So there I was just going over just in case there were any. I don't think there were any visible ones, but I did it anyway just to double and triple check, just to make sure that there weren't any. And he was ready to sit again for another overnight session. Oh, there I think there was a little hair in there, if I remember correctly. And again, make sure that you get anything that's on your resin off, because once it's cured, It's very difficult to get anything off. And there we'll quick spray with my alcohol. And like I said, ready to sit the night until it was fully cured. And that is the final result. I was so happy with how it came out. It was exactly how I envisioned it, and I thought it was absolutely gorgeous. So here I am just using my deburring tool just to take off the sharp edges, because those can cut you if you don't clean them up nicely. And that deburring tool works an absolute dream. And then just giving it a little bit of a buff with a nail file, and Bob's your uncle. So now last step is just to put on the feet, and it's done. And that's our sparkling Christmas tray. It's simple, it's elegant, and I think it's perfect for the holidays. If you love this project, please don't forget to like and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. And if you could also share it, I would appreciate that too. So guys, again, until next time, see you in the next DIY and have a great one.